Welcome into Black and Gold Insider. This is where we get to meet the members of the Black and Gold and get to know them a little bit better. I am Max Bretos. I know you enjoy every show, but I truly believe you're going to enjoy this, not only because we're dealing with an LAFC original here from the beginning, but a man who's so well-traveled. I'm already labeling him the most interesting man under the roof there at the Performance Center. It is LAFC Performance Director Gavin Benjafield. An absolute honor and thrill, Gavin, to have you on the program.
Hey, Max, I appreciate being here. It's only taken me 8 years to get on the program, so you must be really going to the bottom of the barrel now.
The request is in the mail. It must have got lost. I don't know what you're talking about. But miscommunication. But no, this is a relatively new program, Gavin. So we're all kind of getting started. I mean, had you ever reflect a little bit about your time here? I mean, you've traveled and worked in every sport and every field, but the time you put in, you are really a foundation stone of the Black and Gold.
Yeah, there are only a few of us remaining, the OGs of kind of day one. We walk past each other and kind of remember those 10 weeks in UCLA where we were building up, breaking down before the Performance Center actually got opened. And yeah, I mean, obviously it's been a journey. So many good memories, so many changes, relationships that we've built over the years with the players, with the staff. So yeah, it actually is the longest time that I've been with one team. As you said, I've traveled a lot. I've been with a number of teams, and in 8 years, or the 8th season with LAFC, it's by far the longest that I've been with that single team.
And the club has benefited in turn. By the way, I remember those UCLA days. I used to get parking tickets aplenty because that parking was, woo,
that was an interesting 10 weeks. Absolutely.
It's all part of the wonderful history.
That's right.
Performance Director, Gavin. I mean, that's a loaded title. There's a lot under it. In the best way that you can, tell us what you oversee with the club.
Yeah, it's a really good question because maybe there's a little bit of confusion about like what is performance, because actually there are two words in that title, right? Performance Director. So my primary role at the club is to direct the members of the performance department. And then so you probably have to drill a little deeper what makes up a performance department. So you've got everything from strength and conditioning, which kind of is a very traditional role within pro sports. I think it all started in strength and conditioning. That's a little bit of my background as well. Nutrition, sports psychology, sports science, data science, all of that, kind of those disciplines, those very unique disciplines make up the performance department. And my role here at LAFC is ultimately to how do we provide the best service possible to our first team, and then obviously through the second and the academy. How do we provide the best service possible to ensure that our players are able to stay healthy and be as fit as possible and be as competitive as possible, be as ready for the competition that's coming, be it, are we playing Saturday to Saturday? Are we playing away? Are we traveling? Are we at altitude? Are we playing a midweek game? And so it's a roller coaster ride, and it's to try and control as many of the controllables and how to prepare our players for the next match.
And Gavin, with everything you mentioned there, strength and conditioning, nutrition, we spoke to Connor Spencer on the show here, and the psychology, all of that, is that all checked off with what LAFC does and what you cover?
Yes. So I think that the difference between what you would say us and a Real Madrid or like maybe a Premier League team is just more bodies, more people. So where we would have 2 strength and conditioning coaches, maybe they have 6 strength and conditioning coaches. But the disciplines, those specific tasks that need to be fulfilled, yes, we tick off each one of those disciplines.
We like the comparisons to Real Madrid, but this is still relatively new, correct? I mean, clubs in MLS, other American sports are still fine-tuning what is performance and building staffs. Is it safe to say that it's still a process, and LAFC is a little ahead of it with the group that they have?
Yeah, even when we started in 2018, our own performance department has grown. So you would say in our 8 seasons, we have grown. We've probably doubled in the number of staff. We've added some new disciplines as well, and we're trying to stay ahead of other teams within the MLS. But people may think that MLS is behind European standards. I mean, I'm fortunate to sit in this chair, and I've been at a top club. I've been at a club that was 115 years old when I actually walked into the building, and when you do the comparisons and then you have a look and see the differences, yes, MLS and LAFC can punch above its weight, even in the European standards.
How have you seen like I said, there's some have a minimal application, some will have a lot. How have you viewed the industry and its growth since 2018, or maybe let's say the last 20 years? And why is it so important to see performance, and everything it covers continue to grow and help teams in wins and losses?
Yeah, I think if you look at the league 20 years ago, maybe we were playing half the number of games. And so if we are asking more of our players and demanding more from our players and with more travel, then you need to go into the science. You need to go into the recovery of athletes. You need to go, how do we prepare them the best way possible to compete week in, week out? And now it's not even week in and week out anymore. It's the weekend, the midweek, the weekend, the midweek. And so the industry has certainly grown. When 20 years ago, when I was involved in pro sports, it was me and the physio. That's it, a department of two. There was no miscommunication because it was just me and one other person. But as the industry has grown and the demands and the players has grown, obviously the staff headcount has grown as well, just to match that.
It's wonderful because it's serious business about getting the team better, and it's work for so many folks. And we're seeing the importance of it, and the players respond in turn. So, Gavin, how have you been since year one, building a department? What is the strategy there when you're finding the people, the process of bringing them in, interviewing them, to know where you're fine tuning the right group for this job?
Absolutely. I think that was probably one of the biggest appeals for me, leaving the Premier League and coming to the MLS. I had a lot of my colleagues, my peers in Europe going, what are you doing? You're in the best league in the world. And I said to them, I'm never going to have this opportunity to come and build something from the ground up. It's often when you go in Europe, you're remodeling a house. You're inheriting an already completed structure, and you can make minor changes. I'm talking figuratively, obviously, but you can knock out a wall. So you're not knocking someone out, but you take out a wall, you try and reorganize, reshuffle things to be as operationally efficient. But here at LAFC 2018, there was nothing. It was a build from the ground up. And what a privilege and opportunity to work with some incredible individuals. And yes, build the plane while you're flying it. But the success of the team kind of is a testament to everyone's just commitment to wanting to make this club, this team, these players perform at the absolute highest level. So yes, more hours than I'd ever spent, obviously, to build the team from the ground up. And obviously we've seen things evolve and things change from that, and the addition of new staff and new processes. But yes, the appeal was, how do we build something when there was nothing?
I'm picturing Gavin, the landlord, there in the UK. All right, you're out. Just kidding. So this is obviously something that people are getting into, and we speak to young people who studied because they're seeing the evolution and the growth of this. How have you seen that when you're looking at resumes and so forth, and really talented people that are not just, I want to get into sports, specifically into this department?
Yeah, fantastic question. We've just concluded a hiring process of an academy strength and conditioning coach. We had more than 300 people apply for the role. And so I think that there's an overwhelming attraction to come and work in pro sports. But at the same time, the whole concept of work-life balance, I don't think that's ever going to catch up to pro sports, because pro sports is only getting more demanding. More of your time needs to be invested. There are more games to play. So if work-life balance is really important for you and you want a 9 to 5, do not enter the world of pro sports, because it doesn't exist. And I don't think it will ever exist. And so there's certainly interest. There's this honeymoon of kind of wanting to get in romance or wanting to get into pro sports, but I don't think it is for everyone. I think I'm in this because I'm so passionate about sport. Sport was such a big part of my upbringing, my early formative years in high school as well. I'm sold out to the concept of sports and competition, that this was the natural path for me to take. I could have worked in general population in a clinic, but I was like, no, the smell of the grass, the proximity. I couldn't play pro sports, but I wanted to still have that week in, week out competition. And I win with the team and I lose with the team as well. And I think that that's what brings me back season after season.
I can completely relate to that question. I'm unskilled in every way you are, Gavin, but I know I feel through the prism of sports.
Totally.
You touched on it. I mean, just to do this, you got to have a background in many things. I mean, you mentioned psychology, you mentioned medicine.
Yeah.
So for you, at the top of that totem pole, what do you have to have a good backing in to do your job effectively?
Yeah, so obviously because it's a multidisciplinary team that I manage, some performance directors come from a different background. Some may be physiotherapists, athletic trainers, some may be a nutritionist, but my background is in exercise physiology and sports science. So that's really where I studied in South Africa at a university there. Exercise physiology, my major. I was in the medical side as well, but then the strength and conditioning. So it was all around pro sports. And then obviously just years in the trenches, Max. Like you cannot substitute that. Years in the trenches, making more mistakes back then than I do make now, and just learning how to work with others and work with people towards a common goal. And if we're all pulling in the same direction, we can achieve great things. Even if there are only 4 of us pulling on that rope, it doesn't mean that if you're 8 pulling on the same rope that you're going to beat the team of 4. No, it's about that cohesion, the teamwork, how synchronized are you and how are on the same page. So it all comes down to your discipline and how you can contribute to the global team's discipline, right? So Sergi Palencia, again, player that I absolutely adore. There can only be one Sergi on the field, right? Outside back. But how is he doing his job to the best of his ability to contribute to the success of the team? No one's asking him to be Denis. They're asking him to be Sergi. And Sergi being Sergi makes us great.
That's incredible. I didn't know you're from South Africa. I'm just kidding. You can tell, obviously.
Can't hide the accent. That's right.
It's a beautiful accent. I believe it's the perfect accent for the English language, too, because you understand everything. Us Americans, not so much. South Africa.
Yeah, I have my challenges here in America when I go to the restaurant and I ask for a water and they don't know what water is. And then I need to pronunciate my A and I've got to go, now I want a water. So yeah, it's been a good 8 years of learning.
You mentioned the relationships, Gavin. And I mean, that's how high on the list is that? Just when you said with the players, everyone, that you've got to be on board to be able to do the job.
Yep. Relationships are the foundation of the success within my role as well as the team. Like think of the number of, so my sons now are in their teens, right? But when you have a child, you're invested in the relationship of that child being raised and you're spending countless hours. If I actually had to do the math, I probably spend more hours, active hours with our players than you do at home, because if you're at work for that many hours, right? Do the math. So it's not about telling players what to do. It's about building bridges of relationship and communication with players so they understand why we are doing this. Because they're not just carry this pack and walk this distance. They need to understand why we're doing these things and how it is benefiting them in what we're asking them to do. So without relationship, you cannot ask anyone to do anything.
It's a great answer and analogy with looking at the collaboration in the family home, because I think we can all relate to that.
Yeah.
Gavin, if you could take us through a match week and the collaboration with Steve and his staff and the players, how does that start, or how do you begin the week, and what is the goal at the end, say in a typical match week with those conversations you have?
No, great question. And it even starts before that. As soon as the MLS releases the 2025, or now it will obviously be the 26 season, I get into planning mode and I start building out what our calendar will look like. And obviously there are small nuances in terms of how far do you progress in, say, the Champions Cup. But you can get a pretty decent idea of where are the periods of time where we may be playing 7 games in 21 days. We call that density, right? Our focus, our shift is going to completely change when we're playing 7 in 21 versus if we're playing 5 games in 5 weeks. And so there are different rhythms. And once I have that plan in place, yes, my relationship with the head coach, with Steve, for the last 4 years, fantastic. Really good collaboration, good understanding of his principles, the way he likes to do things. And I'm in there kind of navigating how much can we push? Are we a little bit more in a recovery phase? And so when we bring it down to that 1 week preparation, then it comes down to the small nuances. Where have we been? Have we just come from those 7 games in 21? Okay, well, actually, Max, for this 4-day block leading into the game, you know what? We actually have to take the foot off the gas pedal a little, We need to stay in a little bit of a recovery mode, but we can't go too easy because then the car's going to stall and then we're going to get to the game and we're going to be underprepared. So it is taking things in context. And then after this game, where are we going? Are we going into a full week of recovery? Well, then maybe we can push a little harder on the day before. So it's that collaboration. It's with the technical staff. It's with the players. They love knowing where you're going. It's almost like you're taking people on a hike and you're like, well, you either just follow me or like, hey, this is where we're going. And this is the journey that it's going to take to get to that end point. And we get to the end point, we play the game. Everyone hopefully gets the win. And then we move on to the next game.
You're at the top of the hill going, I told you I was right. I told you it's beautiful up here.
Exactly. Yeah, tough hike to get to the top. But at the top, it's always best, right?
As you answer that question, Gavin, I could just see the pressure of this job and what's at stake. And we know LAFC has 2 games a week a lot. And I know talking to Steve, can't train every day. But there has to be a lot of homework for the players from your perspective, right? What does that look like where you go, hey, we're not going to see you tonight. Make sure you do something like this tomorrow when you're off, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so I'll give you a little insider secret here. So I gave away the concept of a regen or a recovery session, right? So a lot of teams, you'll play the game, you'll maybe have the next day off, and then you come back the second day after that, and you complete, the guys that played the minutes complete this thing called a regen or a recovery session. I think that there's a flaw in their thinking because as soon as the whistle blows after the game, the body is starting to repair itself. So it's starting to recover and regenerate itself and kind of overcome the stress that it's just been placed, be it a 90-minute game, be it an extra time, 120-minute game, be it a game against the Galaxy where the stress hormones are even higher because obviously there are our rivals here in LA. So the recovery starts. And so we start giving a lot more ownership to the players and saying like, hey, these are the things you can do immediately after a game. Maybe we don't see you tomorrow. Hey, make sure you tick off these things because this helps that cycle of recovery. Recovery is not isolated to a 1-hour training session when a guy gets out of his car and comes to the training facility. So there's so much ownership that needs to happen from players to make sure that they can recover and be ready for the next training session and the next game. Because otherwise we need to create a boarding school here and we just have like everyone living here for 11 months. That would be a disaster.
That'd be terrible.
Could you imagine? Disaster.
And for all the kids out there listening, this is what it takes. So if you want to take that next step, this is really important because as Gavin's pointing out, this is a full day, full week situation that you're going to be, or adventure that you're going to be going on, if that's the right word, probably is.
Yeah.
Peak performance. Yeah. Sorry, what was that?
Yeah, I'd say it's just a commitment. I think that the players that excel in this, the staff that excel in this are totally sold out and committed to the process. They're not coming in and wondering like, hey, when's the next off day? It's no, hey, how do we be better today than what we were yesterday? How do we be better next month compared to this month? And it's this journey of improvement that keeps you engaged in the sport and keeps kind of the team winning.
Peak performance. It's a beautiful expression.
Yeah.
Is it attainable? Have you seen it? Or what does the player need to do to get as close to that in your eyes?
Yeah. Peak performance, readiness is another term that gets thrown out there quite often. Look, it's a very long season. And the reality is you cannot be in peak performance for 50 plus games in a year. So there is going to be periods of time where guys are a little fatigued and they're not going to be able to put out their peak, their highest performance. But it is the collective of the entire season of how do you get players to be as ready as often as possible for as many games as possible. And so it does go through waves of during a season of attaining this thing called peak performance. Yes, for us, that would mean we're a healthy squad. We have no injuries, particularly with the starting 11 players, because there is a difference. When you have 3 of your starting 11 players injured versus 3 of your non-starting 11 players injured, the burden on the team, the impact on the team is significantly higher, although 3 is the same as 3, right? I mean, that's simple arithmetic. So peak performance with us would be maximum starter availability, and then also players that are sharp, ready, and engaged in the game and not super tired, super fatigued, and really just wanting the season to be over.
Gavin, I wonder, though, your colleagues that were in the Premier League said, you're going to MLS. Did they ever in their wildest imaginations that you would be here and over your time would oversee the performance of Gareth Bale, Giorgio Chiellini, Carlos Vela, Hugo Lloris, the list goes on, and now more recently, Son Heung-Min? Did you ever think?
None. I didn't think that at all. When I came here, I was like, hey, I'm going to work with talented local and international players, but never in my wildest dream did I think that I was going to have Gareth Bale walk through the door, or Giorgio, or Carlos, and the list kind of goes on. And I think we'll continue going on because there's a real attraction and draw for players and staff to come and work in this league.
And work under your tutelage as well. I mean, that has to be a draw. And I want to take Son Heung-Min, for instance, as an example.
Yeah.
He arrives. Obviously, his performance speaks volumes over the time. He has been able to match that for Spurs, the Korean national team. But how do you take what he's already learned and put him under the LAFC performance umbrella? What does that look like?
So I call it a bridge period. So Sonny obviously had spent so many times at Tottenham. So for us, it was to understand what was the lay of the land for him in Tottenham. What provision did they give him? What was he comfortable in receiving? And then to know what is our environment, what is manageable for us. Because yes, we do not have 8 physiotherapists in the building. We do not have 6 strength and conditioning coaches. But what we have is what we can work with. And when the distance between these two is very large, then it becomes a challenge for us. But we actually felt that there was not a huge difference between what he was receiving at Tottenham and what we could offer over here. And straight away from day one, it's about relationship building with Sonny, understanding what his preferences are, what he liked, what he didn't like. Because if you go to a restaurant and you have a 7-course meal, but you know what, actually all I wanted to do was just have an entree, like, why are you giving him a 7-course meal? And so, yes, there were things that he was getting at Tottenham that he was maybe like, yeah, that was not really important for me. It didn't benefit me as much as what he thought it would or what they thought it would. So we've scaled it down to what we feel is best suited for him in the environment over here. And he's thriving. He's enjoying himself over here. He's successful. He's bringing attention to the team, to the league. And what an amazing individual. I still remember his first away game, came down for breakfast, and he comes down quite early for breakfast. And I was like, here we go. This guy's going to just grab his breakfast and go up to his room. He sat there for 2 hours, just having conversations, bantering with his new teammates, guys that he's never met before, but he stayed at that table for 2 hours. And he just had these players, some of the younger players, eating out of his hands. But he's so genuine. He's such a nice guy he wasn't doing it out of false pretense, but he was just doing it because that's who he is. And I loved seeing that. And it's so easy to build a relationship with someone like that.
Gavin, I think that's a good place. I think we need a sequel here, but I'll leave it at that because that was such a beautiful answer. And I don't know if you could see that, but I wrote a lot of things down. But the thing at the top from our conversation, relationships.
Relationship, 100%. Yes. Build them, honor them, keep working at them, because that is what you take home at the end of the day. The memories that I have of working with Carlos and him chewing my ear off sometimes, me chewing his ear off sometimes, me telling him to run, him telling me to go climb a tree or whatever he used to say to me. Yeah, I probably can't say anything, but those are the memories, and those are the deep relational equity that you build over time with players.
Great advice in whatever walk of life you are in. That is our Gavin Benjafield, who is making this team better and better every week, every day with the Black and Gold. That's all the time we have. But, of course, be back here every week for Black and Gold Insider. Until we meet again, this is Max Bretos saying, let's go Black and Gold. Make your relationships